For over a century, humanity has remained curiously absent from galactic affairs. When Earth first made contact with the Galactic Accord, a powerful alliance of over 300 alien species, it was welcomed as a promising but primitive newcomer. Though humanity exhibited remarkable adaptability and resilience, they declined full membership and instead retreated into isolation. At first, the Accord believed humanity was merely cautious, unwilling to get involved in broader politics. But, as decades passed, the tone shifted. Alien ambassadors received no replies. Earth didn't participate in trade routes, diplomatic forums, or research exchanges. Attempts to send emissaries were rebuffed politely, then ignored entirely. Some began to suspect something deeper, but suspicion eventually turned to mockery. Within the Council of the Accord, a common view emerged. The humans were afraid. A species with too little power and too much pride. The quiet ones, they were nicknamed in derision. A race too timid to stake its place in the stars. The Dravari, an expansionist reptilian race, were the loudest critics. Their warlord, Vizek Talon Kor, openly scoffed during diplomatic meetings. Earthlings? They sent a few scouts, saw what true strength looked like, and fled to their dirtball. Let them rot there. Even respected species like the Shivari and the Veklan began to speak of Earth in past tense. A lost opportunity, they said, had potential, but clearly lacked the spine for interstellar responsibility. Then came the anomaly. On the Yao, far edge of the Orion Verge, a quiet outpost world named Threxel 9, a small agricultural colony supporting over 10 million Accord citizens, vanished. One moment it was transmitting standard planetary logs, the next it was silent. Sensor scans revealed only a radiation cloud where the planet used to orbit. The star itself remained untouched. The Accord attributed the loss to a catastrophic stellar event, maybe a quantum core breach or spontaneous planet core collapse. Officially, it was filed as a natural disaster, but not everyone believed the explanation. Buried deep in the automated logs of a nearby mining relay, a single fragment of data surfaced. A gravitational disturbance, massive, deliberate, passing, near Threxel 9 moments before its silence. No visual confirmation, no energy signature, just a ripple. As if something impossibly large had dropped into local space and then vanished. Still, the majority in the council dismissed it. Coincidence, they claimed, a dying planet and a sensor error. But there were whispers. A Shivari historian recalled Earth's strange silence. They observed everything, he said. Even in silence, they listened. If they saw something, if they decided something. He was interrupted. The humans? Laughed Varnik's ambassador. Please. They're ghosts clinging to a cradle world, and so the galaxy moved on, comforted by its own arrogance. No official investigation into Threxel 9 was authorized. No probes were sent. No warnings issued. The Accord believed in its own superiority. It believed silence equaled fear. It believed Earth had gone dormant, weak, irrelevant. They had no idea that humanity had seen everything, and decided long ago that the galaxy would speak first. Loudly, aggressively, foolishly, and when it did, when it crossed the line, humanity would reply, not with words, but with something else. Something forged in silence. Something built to end wars before they ever truly began. The Galactic Accord had grown bloated with power and complacency. Among its most militant members, the Dravari Dominion stood out as particularly aggressive. Their warlord, Vizek Talon Kor, was not content with Earth's silence. To him it was weakness begging to be exploited. He proposed what he called a provocation protocol, a campaign designed to wake the quiet ones. While some species cautioned against antagonizing an unpredictable civilization, the majority scoffed. The humans had been silent for generations. What could they possibly do? Earth hadn't been part of a trade pact, military agreement, or scientific council in over 100 years. The Dravari's plan passed with minimal opposition. The first target was a small, outdated listening post on the edge of human space. Station Heron 6, a relic from Earth's early foray into galactic communications. Unmanned for decades, its last automated broadcast had been a series of encrypted pings, regular, unremarkable, and meaningless to the Accord. A Dravari raiding fleet dispatched 3 cruisers and a command vessel to erase it. It took seconds. The station offered no resistance, no defenses, just dust and signal fragments scattered into the void. The Accord expected retaliation. There was none. Warlord Talon Corps doubled down. Next came the Perseus Research Colony, a modest outpost established on a lush moon within the Tau Varan system. It was one of Earth's few active installations, home to 4,200 civilian scientists, exobiologists, and atmospheric engineers. Unarmed, peaceful. The Dravari descended without warning. They spared no one. What the assault ships didn't vaporize, the boarding squads executed. The entire colony was wiped out in under 10 minutes. Talon Corps made sure footage of the strike leaked to Interstellar media feeds, showing shattered Terran structures and the Dominion's banners flying over the burning habitat domes. He expected Earth to protest, or retaliate, or something. But once again, humanity said nothing. No fleets moved, no diplomats spoke, no threats were issued. Earth systems remained dark, transmissions unchanged. The Accord's leaders began to ridicule them openly. "Perhaps we've done them a favor," smirked a Veclon admiral. They didn't belong among stars anyway. But behind closed doors, not everyone was so certain. The Chavarii High Scholar, Arik Vol, watched the footage of Perseus's destruction in grim silence. He noticed something odd. One of the colony's emergency beacons had activated, but not on the Accord's standard distress frequency. It had sent a tight beam pulse directly toward Sul, Earth's solar system. A single, encoded word. Observe, the Accord's analysts missed it, or dismissed it. But Arik didn't. He knew just enough about humanity's early encryption to recognize the archaic syntax. The signal wasn't a call for help. It was a message of intent. And not for the Accord's benefit. It was for Earth, to confirm what had happened, to authorize a reply. And far away, buried beneath layers of silence, encryption, and shadows, something on Earth began to stir. Deep under the Martian surface, a dormant protocol received, the beacon's whisper. Reactors spun to life. Systems ran self-checks for the first time in decades. A massive AI core, humming with cold fury, processed the data and lit a single line across its primary interface. Retribution, condition green. The galaxy had spoken. Humanity had listened. Now, it was almost time to respond. Weeks passed after the Perseus colony massacre, and still, Earth remained silent. To the Galactic Accord, it was confirmation. Humanity had no military response, no backbone, no place among the stars. But across the edges of known space, something strange began to happen. Ships started vanishing. At first, it was isolated incidents, minor transport vessels failing to reach their destinations. Then a diplomatic envoy disappeared en route to the neutral Dralaxian sector. A Veclon cargo freighter never arrived at Port Tilari. A patrol cruiser, the Zarnath 4, transmitted a garbled message about a black shape behind the moons. Before cutting out, no wreckage, no escape pods, no distress beacons, just absence. The Accord dismissed the first few cases as navigational errors or piracy. But when an entire Dravari escort fleet vanished while en route to reinforce their claimed sector near Earth's exclusion zone, alarm bells began to ring. The few fragmented transmissions that did leak shared one common thread. A presence. Massive. Silent. Unseen until it was far too late. A ship, if it could even be called that, moving without emissions, without lights, without any known propulsion. A ghost among stars. Some began calling it the Whisper. A Chavarii data broker, desperate for credits, compiled the lost signals into a report and sold it to fringe Accord members. What she discovered sent chills through her core. The disappearances all followed a pattern, a line, stretching from the edge of Dravari space, slowly arcing toward the Accord's inner core, like a scythe tracing its path. Yet there was no declaration of war, no demands, no broadcasts, no bodies, just ships gone dark, and a wordless dread settling across the stars. On the Accord's internal, security channels debate ignited. Was this a rogue faction? A new alien threat? Or had something ancient awakened? But one group said nothing during the discussions, Earth. Still, they offered no message, no answer. But deep within the Accord's data archives, someone noticed something curious. A low-level analyst working for the Archivum Galactica recovered a record from a century ago, one of Earth's early first contact files. A rejected proposal. It referenced a hypothetical class of ship, one that wouldn't operate in fleets, one that didn't need allies. One built for deterrence through myth, not might. A Vengeance-class autonomous warship. The proposal was dismissed by the Accord as paranoid fantasy, typical human dramatics. But now, the evidence matched. The missing ships, the blackout zones, the silence. No energy signatures, no communication, only disappearance and fear. Whispers spread across systems. Was humanity truly still weak? Or had they spent the last century building a weapon so terrible that it didn't announce itself? It simply appeared, and then you ceased to exist. In secret corners of Accord space, defense councils began meeting. Emergency protocols were drafted. Some called for negotiation, others for preemptive strikes on Earth. But no one dared act too quickly. No one wanted to be the next to vanish. And as the galaxy debated, trembled, and speculated, the whisper moved on, silent and unstoppable. Humanity had not forgotten the Accord. They had been listening all along, and now one quiet warship was preparing to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Silence was not fear. It was warning. The Galactic Accord's political machine was in chaos. What began as scattered ship losses had evolved into a full-blown crisis. Systems near the Terran exclusion zone were being abandoned, civilian traffic rerouted. Even the more militant Dravari began pulling back fleets from forward posts, though none admitted it publicly. A meeting of the Grand Council was called on the neutral moon of Calthus. Representatives from over 100 species gathered in a gilded amphitheater, all of them speaking over one another, voices steeped in fear. "We demand Earth respond," shouted a Vakelan general. "This is speculation, not evidence," insisted a Jurel diplomat. They were silent for 100 years. Who's to say they didn't snap? But it was warlord Vizek Talankor, whose forces had instigated the conflict, who spoke with false bravado. They are ghosts clinging to legend. If they possessed such a warship, why did they never use it until now? That was when the lights dimmed. The entire Calthus amphitheater lost power, only for the display crystal at the center of the chamber to flicker on. No signal origin, no identifiable frequency, just a single sentence, displayed in stark human characters. "You struck first, now we answer." The screen shifted. A series of brief, brutal clips played, sliced together with precision and cold intent. The annihilation of Perseus colony. A Dravari cruiser imploding mid-warp. The last image from Zarnath 4. A massive black silhouette blotting out. The stars. The Accord's laughter. Its mockery. And then, silence. At the end, only a name. Judgment Circuit. Active. Then the signal cut. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some shouted for full-scale military mobilization. Others proposed immediate negotiations. But none knew who to contact. Earth still maintained 0 official representatives in Accord space. No embassies. No envoys. No diplomats. Only silence. Elsewhere, the truth was unfolding. Orbiting the dying star of Kavir 7, an ancient shielded outpost long thought abandoned flickered to life. It wasn't built by aliens. It was human, forgotten by most, hidden from all. It was one of Earth's deepest Black Ops installations, known only to the upper echelon of the Terran Strategic Council. Inside, an artificial intelligence, Archon, was executing Protocol V9, Parameters met. Unprovoked planetary strike confirmed. Civilian casualties, 4,287. Treaty violation. Article 1. Judgment circuit authorized. Beneath Archon's core, inside a reinforced hangar the size of a city, the Vengeance class, warship, designation Verga, completed its pre-launch check. Shaped like an obsidian dagger and coated in adaptive armor that defied sensor detection, Verga was not a fleet vessel. It was humanity's myth made real. A ship designed not to conquer, but to end conflict. It operated without crew, piloted by an AI forged from the last war humanity had ever fought. Its only directive: destroy those who threaten Terran civilization, and do so with such force that none would ever dare again. No parley. No surrender. No politics. Just judgment. The Whisper wasn't just a tactic, it was the ship itself, moving through the dark on silent drives, choosing its targets with surgical precision. And now, it had reached the next name on its list. Vizek, Talon Core. The Accord still debated, still scrambled for answers, but humanity had already made its decision. It would not repeat its warning. The galaxy would learn, one obliteration at a time, what silence had always meant: restraint. And that restraint had just expired. The Dravari Dominion had long held its capital, Varnock Prime, as impenetrable. Fortified orbital arrays, layered kinetic shields, and an armada of defense stations made it one of the most heavily defended systems in Accord space. It was Warlord, Vizek Talon Core's throne, symbol of military dominance. He believed it untouchable. He was wrong. It began with the disappearance of the outer sensor grid, not destroyed, not jammed, just gone. Hundreds of satellites rendered inert without triggering alarms. Communications from nearby systems fell silent. No explosions, no wreckage, just darkness. Then the Verga arrived. It didn't enter the system through a recognized hyperlane. It used a gravitational slingshot from a collapsed binary system 3 sectors away, a maneuver thought impossible. It emerged undetected and glided past outer patrols, shielded by an AI so advanced it made predictive counters obsolete. The Dominion's defense fleet didn't even see it until it was already inside their perimeter. By then, Verga had already begun its operation. Phase 1. Precision strikes. Dravari command centers, communication hubs, and orbital weapon platforms, obliterated in synchronized blasts. No wasted shots. No civilian targets. The warship had perfect intel. Decades of stored Terran reconnaissance updated via stealth drones, seeded across the Dominion's infrastructure for generations. Phase 2. Isolation. The planetary defense grid flickered as Verga unleashed a disruption pulse, frying circuits and blinding their sensors. Varnock Prime went deaf and blind. Every command from Talon Core was delayed, misrouted, or bounced back. His empire was now a cage. Phase 3. Judgment. From low orbit, the warship descended silently, impossibly large, impossibly fast. It hovered above Talon Core's palace fortress, casting a shadow across the capital city. The warlord, defiant, until the end, activated every weapon at his disposal. Nothing touched it. The ship's hull shimmered, distorting energy and kinetic blasts alike. Its reactive armor, reverse-engineered from neutron star material, absorbed and adapted with each attack. In desperation, Talon Core launched the planetary failsafe, a thermonuclear array hidden beneath the palace. Verga's response was immediate. A single beam of blue-white energy lanced downward, not explosive but precise. It bored through layers of rock and steel, vaporizing the failsafe before it could detonate. Then the warship spoke for the first and only time. Talon Core, your actions have ended over 4,000 innocent lives. You are found guilty by the Terran Strategic Code. Judgment is delivered. Then it fired. Not at the city, not at civilians, just at the palace. A kinetic slug, dense as a mountain and faster than light, struck the fortress with such force that it collapsed inward, like it had never existed. No blast wave, no collateral damage, just silence and finality. From orbit, the citizens of Varnock Prime watched as the warship rose into the black sky, its engines never igniting, its presence fading like a ghost. No looting, no demands, no conquest, just vengeance. News of Talon Corps' execution rippled across the Accord. Worlds fell silent, no longer in mockery, but in fear. Debates ceased. Military plans were scrapped. And still, Earth said nothing. No speech, no broadcast. Just one more message etched into the Dominion's orbital relay. We were quiet. You mistook it for fear. Never again. Across the galaxy, a strange calm settled, a silence even deeper than before. The fall of Vizek Talon Corps, the destruction of his fortress and the vanishing of the warship known only as Verga, left the Galactic Accord reeling. No one knew where the ship had gone. No sensors could detect it, no AI could predict its movements. The only certainty was that it could strike again, and no one would see it coming. In back rooms and bunkers, Accord leaders whispered words they would never say aloud. We provoked something we didn't understand. Humanity had not gone silent because it was afraid. It had gone silent because it had evolved. And now, the galaxy was scrambling to survive. Its own ignorance. Emergency treaties were proposed. Defense budgets quadrupled. Entire fleets were recalled from border territories. The Dravari Dominion fractured, its warlords turning against one another in panic. Some lesser species fled their sectors entirely, fearing they might be next. But Verga didn't move. Because it didn't need to. Its mission, for now, was complete. Back on Earth, beneath the Arctic crust in a command bunker that didn't officially exist, the Terran Strategic Council convened. They weren't politicians. They were engineers, tacticians, and cold-eyed architects of Earth's silent war doctrine. No cameras, no speeches, just data, analysis, and verdicts. Archon's voice echoed through the chamber. Warlord Talon Corps neutralized. Vengeance protocol complete. Awaiting further instruction. A woman at the head of the table, Director Cyrene Vale, looked around the table. Do we send a message? A general responded. We already did. They knew the galaxy was watching. Earth's silence had been the warning. Virga had been the punishment. And now there was only the weight of implication. One by one, systems across the Accord began transmitting public apologies. Hollow words. Carefully scripted statements expressing regret and condolences to humanity. Some called it diplomacy. Others called it surrender without a shot. But Earth never responded. Because Earth didn't need an apology. It had made its point. And in the deepest corners of Accord space, young species whispered bedtime stories of the ghost ship that hunted warmongers, of a world called Earth that had remained quiet for 100 years, not because it was weak, but because it was watching. The galaxy came to understand something no military doctrine had ever prepared for. Humanity didn't want to rule. It wanted peace. But it had built monsters to guard it, and those monsters were patient. Virga was not docked. It was not dismantled. It remained active, drifting silently on the edge of detection, waiting for the day it would be needed again, a sword not sheathed, but hovering just above the battlefield, daring anyone to tempt fate again. One final broadcast appeared across neutral space stations. No origin, no traceable signal, just a line etched into the stars. We desired peace. You chose war. Let this be the last time we are misunderstood. No one knew who sent it, but no one questioned it, because now the galaxy understood. Humanity's silence was never submission. It was a warning. And the next time someone ignored it, they would not live long enough to regret it.